for coming. This is the second in our series of nutrition talks here at Get Fit Plus. My name is Alyssa Monteleone and I run a company called Simply Good Thinking. Last time you were here, I told you a little bit about myself, so I will not bore you with that again. I will only remind you that I am a certified holistic health coach, and I focus my philosophy on eating whole foods and a clean diet. So last time we talked about staying hydrated, and part of staying hydrated is also in the foods that you consume in addition to the beverages that you drink. And one of the best ways to get more hydration out of your food is to eat fruits and vegetables. And the top vegetable are greens. Greens are amazing for health in so many different ways, and we're going to get into that. I think greens are probably the #1 missing item in the American standard diet. We simply don't eat enough greens. And when we do think of greens, we think of iceberg lettuce, chopped up, and that really is just not going to cut it. The darker the green, the more nutritious, and iceberg lettuce you see is not very dark unless you eat just the very top of it. And nobody does that. So we're going to talk about consuming more greens, and another benefit of greens is that they are very high in fiber, they're very low in calories, they're highly nutritious, and they're filling. So when you're thinking about your diet and what you want to do to make changes, instead of worrying so much about what you shouldn't eat and what I can't eat and bad and I blah, 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 really focus on what you need to eat to nourish your body. And then worry, you won't have room in your stomach and you won't have time in your day to eat all the nonsense that you've been eating that's been making you not feel good, gain weight, ache, be tired, all of those kinds of things. So, greens. There's a wide variety of greens. They can be prepared in a wide variety of ways, and they can truly be eaten in every meal. So, for instance, I, in the morning, have I scramble my eggs instead of having it in an omelet because I just don't have time to be all fancy. So I scramble the eggs, and I cut into it some dark leafy greens that I've sauteed with garlic and olive oil. My favorite way to make all greens is garlic and olive oil, but I'm Italian, as you can tell with my hands. And I put that into my egg, I put a little cheese on top, and boom. And so now I've eaten a little bit of fat with the olive oil and the cheese, and obviously that fat from the egg. I've eaten fiber from the greens, and I have all the nutrients from the greens, all the protein and all the nutrients that come in the egg. It's really great. And I start a lot of my mornings that way. So when you think about greens and we go beyond lettuce and salad, you can get into kale, which I'm sure you've heard a lot about. Kale is an amazing green. It actually comes in many varieties in and of itself. You can eat kale raw. Usually it's prepared cooked. It can be lightly steamed, it can be boiled, it can be sauteed. And the thing that I love about kale, my favorite way to eat kale is kale chips. So I am personally a crunchy, salty addict. I love that. And kale chips are a great substitution for potato chips, corn chips. They can be addictive, and I guess, that's probably not good either, but you really can't overeat kale chips unless you are like really, 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 really hungry. The best way to prepare kale chips is to take some olive oil or some coconut oil, rub it in your hands, rub the leaves, lay them flat out on parchment paper or a cookie sheet, put some salt, use a little soy sauce. If you like it spicy, add some spice, any flavoring you really want to. I mean, if you really want to go crazy, you could even add like some cinnamon, whatever you want. If you're not into salty foods, Mrs. Dash is fine, lemon juice, whatever you want to do, season them, and then you put them into an oven at about 180 degrees. Can you do it at a higher temperature? Absolutely. Will it cook faster? Absolutely. Here are the drawbacks of putting it at a higher temperature than 200 degrees. Number one, there's evidence that when you cook things over 180 to 200 degrees, they lose nutrients and enzymes. And another reason why is they burn. And that honestly is the number one reason for me and why I cook them at a lower temperature is because I burned them all the time when I first started making kale chips. And I was like, oh my gosh. And the temperature that was given to me was 375. And again, this is fine, and if you watch them and you rotate them and all that, it's totally fine, and they're still delicious, and they're still nutritious, and they're certainly better than potato chips. But if you have the time to cook them at the lower temperature, they retain their nutrition. They also keep green. They don't turn a little bit brown like they do at the higher temperatures, and they have a really nice texture. But anywhere between 180 and 375, depending on how quickly you want to get them done, is great. Kale chips totally rock. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about the different kinds of greens that are available to you. And I'm going to use my list here only because I've divided them into categories. And I want to make sure that I include everything. So the first thing that we're going to talk about are ones that you really should steam or eat slightly cooked. Number one, popular among everybody, kids and adults alike, broccoli. Broccoli rocks. Nutrition of broccoli is amazing. The flavor of broccoli is amazing. It's very high in fiber, and it's extremely versatile. And of course, you can eat broccoli raw with dip. Steam it a little bit. Again, my favorite way is to cut it up and saute it with olive oil and garlic, and I'll use a little bit of salt. And just really, that's just the default thing for me, always. Other ones to look at are bok choy, Napa cabbage, collards, watercress, mustard greens, broccoli rabe, which is really very different than broccoli. It's much more leafy. It has like this little tuft that looks like broccoli on top, but it's quite a bit more bitter. And I really like with broccoli rabe and the other bitter greens, if you steam them and then you saute them in the olive oil and garlic or whatever seasonings you're going to use, you'll find that that bitterness is dissipated a little bit. But some people love the bitter flavor, and it's actually that bitter flavor that is good for you. So bitter greens are very healthy for you. Dandelion, if I didn't mention that one, dandelion is also really good. It's bitter, and that actually is very good raw in a salad, sauteed with lemon and olive oil, and put in some tuna fish, canned tuna fish, very good, or canned salmon, which is a healthy choice, an alternative to tuna fish, which sometimes you have to watch the mercury content in. Okay, another great one is green cabbage. Green and red cabbage are very healthy for you. You can eat them raw. You can eat this, use the leaves as like a bowl and make like a taco salad in it or something like that. You can enjoy it in coleslaw, and you can just steam it and eat it like that. Really, really great choice. So for raw, arugula and endive are kind of spicy. They're excellent in salads. I like them to make a salad just in and of themselves, but if it's a little bit too spicy for you, or if you have kids or people who don't like a lot of spice, mix it into your salad just for a little change. It's very good. Chicory, obviously, all your different kinds of lettuces are very good. The mesclun lettuce, red leaf, green leaf. You can have iceberg lettuce, just not too much. And romaine. Spinach, Swiss chard, and beet greens. So these are really interesting. We eat a lot of spinach in the United States, and spinach is certainly excellent. It's very good for having iron in your body, great source of natural iron. But there's an interesting thing about those three, and they are very high in an acid called oxalic acid. And what oxalic acid can do is it can actually deplete the calcium in our bones. So eaten in high quantities, it's actually counterproductive to some degree. The benefits are kind of outweighed a little bit by the fact that it's pulling that calcium out. Does that mean not to eat it? Of course not. And there is another way to help avoid the effects of the oxalic acid, which is to cook it with something that is very rich and high in fat. So tofu, any kind of seeds, butter, raw butter if you can find it, but full fat butter, any kind of a meat, animal product, or an oil. And that seems to balance out the effects of the oxalic acid. Again, not saying not to consume them, but just to have that be part of the wide mix of greens that you consume. When it comes to cooking greens, I try to break them up as to like which ones to eat raw and which ones to consume cooked. But when you're looking to cook your greens, I think one of the best ways to do it is to steam the greens. And when you steam them, you can just take a pot and a metal colander, put some water in the bottom of the pot, put the metal colander above it, put your greens in. If you have a lid or some way to top it off, a plate is fine. I mean, you know, you can go totally simplistic on this, or you can buy a high quality steamer. It's completely up to you. Microwaving your vegetables and steaming them that way is certainly an option. But I think that just putting them on the stove is probably the best way to go. Second favorite way to do it is to saute them in oil. I know, with garlic, right? Of course. But with onions, and you have to just really lightly saute them. So you put them in the pan, you warm your oil, and then you put your greens in there, cover them up, let them steam down, saute them around, done. Literally, maybe at the absolute most 5 minutes. Very, very tasty. And again, you know, if it's a thicker, more fibrous one, you might want to have them be a little bit longer. You can also add just a touch of water to help in that steaming process. They're very high in water, so they're going to naturally, you know, reduce down and the water is going to come out. But if you want to add a little chicken broth, a little vegetable broth, a little water to help with that, that's certainly fine as well. You can boil it. There's nothing wrong with boiling. When it comes to boiling, you want to get your water hot, you're going to toss them in, you're going to really watch them. As soon as they kind of wilt, get them out. Because otherwise you're losing all the nutrients into the water. Now, here's something weird, but you could do this. Save that water and drink it. You know, I mean, it's got tons of nutrition. It's got all the chlorophyll that's seeped out of the greens. So just save it. I make green tea out of it, or drink it like a broth, or use it and mix it with some chicken broth and consume it. Why throw all those vitamins down the drain? So that is all the different things and all the different varieties, and I'm sure there's many, many more that I'm not even mentioning here tonight that you can do. But if you think about it, if you have those greens in the morning, you have maybe a really nice big salad, or you have a sandwich with lots of greens on it, and then at a dinner you have some sauteed greens next to a nice piece of protein. I mean, you know, you're going to be filled up. They're very high in fiber. In terms of nutrition, greens are extremely high in calcium. They have magnesium, iron, potassium, phosphorus, zinc, vitamin A, C, E, K. So they're very nutritious in that aspect. They also have chlorophyll in them. So you think about, you know, how we like to have plants in our home to help clear our air. Well, that chlorophyll is beneficial to our body as well. That's what makes it green, right? So chlorophyll is very good for our bodies. Fiber and folic acid, which a lot of us have a problem in having enough folic acid in our diet. Obviously you could take supplements, but this is a great natural way to increase the folic acid, especially if you're female and you're looking to have children. Folic acid is absolutely essential in your diet. So, what about vegetables beyond greens? Yes, absolutely. Vegetables beyond greens, there's even a larger array of things to choose from. You know, we think, you know, carrots, celery, cucumbers, tomatoes, done. Oh my gosh, there's so many more vegetables that are available to us, especially in the summertime when we have all the farms and all the local produce in the farmers market, and even in the supermarkets. Your natural food stores have arrangements with local farmers that provide amazing varieties of fruits and vegetables that oftentimes are local, oftentimes are organic. So be creative, don't feel limited. When it comes to vegetables, one of the things that you want to think about, and this is going to carry through to our conversation about fruits as well, is that there are higher starch vegetables and lower starch vegetables. What does the starch do? Well, when you're looking to consume fruits and vegetables, you're looking to not have things that boost your what's called the glycemic index. You don't want to be too high in the glycemic index because that affects your insulin levels in your body, and that can cause you to be hungry. It can cause you to increase your blood sugar levels, and that's really what we're looking to not do when we're consuming fruits and vegetables. That's a whole other conversation, but that's a very basic premise of why we kind of say these are fruits and vegetables that are preferable over these fruits and vegetables, but certainly they're all great. So lower glycemic vegetables fall into the ones that you're going to think of as being kind of watery, salad-like, obviously all the greens that we talked about. The ones that are going to be a little bit higher in starch are going to be corn, different kinds of beans, carrots, and potatoes. So those are going to be vegetables that you're going to want to eat in moderation versus when you're looking at all your greens and your cucumbers, peppers, radishes, green beans. So when I say beans, I should say peas. I shouldn't have said beans. Peas. And then legumes are obviously a separate category in and of themselves. But string beans are great. Those are what in a lot of different diet programs that you might have heard about, those are called the freebies, because the amount of fiber and the amount of vitamins and the amount of water compared to the amount of calories that they have is almost negligible. So you really can't eat too many of those kinds of vegetables. Those starchy vegetables you want to be a little bit more cautious of. So now let's take the conversation over to fruit. Fruit is amazing. The best fruits for you in terms of nutrition, fiber, and lower in sugar are going to be your berries. So think strawberry, raspberry, blackberry. Those are the common ones that we have. Boysenberries and gooseberries and all kinds of funky berries. But blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, blackberries, any of those are really phenomenal. But they're seasonal. We're very fortunate in our country to be able to find those fruits frozen, and they're very delicious in the frozen state as well. I kind of use them as dessert a lot of times when I really have a sweet tooth. I just eat them frozen. You can also puree them into kind of a makeshift sorbet. That's delicious as well. The next level of fruits that I think you should consume, sorry, I need to get a drink, talking too much, very common for me, would be apples and pears. Apples and pears are extremely high in fiber and relatively low in sugar. Again, there's a wide variety of apples and pears available. Again, they tend to be more seasonal. They're a little bit harder to get frozen. So those are really things that you should consume seasonally. Obviously, they're available in traditional supermarkets all year round because they come from all over the world. And that's great. Certainly the apple a day theory holds true. I think that apples and pears are a great choice. Then we're going to get into some of the fruits that are a little bit higher in sugar. So your next group are going to be your citrus fruits. Again, citrus fruits are great. They're very, we all hear they're high in vitamin C. They are higher in sugar. The exception to that is actually a lower sugar citrus fruit. And you can tell it's not as sweet, it's a little sour. Lemons and limes are going to be next, right? They're a little bit sour, not sweet, they're much lower. When you get into the oranges and the clementines and all those really sweet, juicy fruits, they're going to be higher in the glycemic index. They're going to have more sugar. Does that mean that we shouldn't eat them? Absolutely not. But those are the ones that we're going to hold off to be in moderation. Then we get into the tropical fruits. Bananas, mangoes, pineapples, papayas. All of these fruits are delicious. They are extremely nutritious. They're very versatile. They are high in sugar, which is part of the reason why they're so delicious. These fruits and vegetables these fruits should be eaten in moderation. They should be considered a treat as opposed to something that you incorporate into your everyday routine. So, the theme for today was eat more greens, more veggies, more fruits. We talked about the order that those should be done and kind of the decisions that you should make when you're shopping and saying, okay, should I be eating this one every day? Should I see this as a treat? Should I incorporate this or stay away from it? I really don't think there's any fruits and vegetables that you should stay away from unless you have some kind of allergic reaction. There's some people that experience itchiness or allergic reactions to different kinds of fruits and vegetables. Nightshades are a problem for some people. That's tomatoes, eggplants. Some people struggle with strawberries for some reason. My husband actually has a condition that when he eats tree fruits, it causes an allergic reaction. But those are the kinds of things that you're going to have to make choices about that really have nothing to do with the nutritional value of them, but rather just how your body reacts to things. Outside of that, I think that fruits and vegetables are something that if you eat enough of those every single day, you're going to find that your cravings for potato chips and candy and soda and all of the kinds of things that are hurting your body are going to be highly reduced, and you're going to just start feeling a lot better. So that's my shtick on eating more greens and incorporating more fruits and vegetables into your diet. I am happy to get further into any of these topics at a later date, but for now, that's it. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.